A grey saloon car, sleek and unassuming, began its slow, inevitable slide down a concrete slipway, carrying a family towards the unforgiving cold embrace of the sea. Welcome to UK True Crime Stories, Episode 2. I'm Sophie, and with me as always is Dan.
Great to be back, Sophie. We've got another set of compelling, sometimes heartbreaking, stories for our listeners today.
Indeed, Dan. And we begin with a profound tragedy that unfolded on a blustery afternoon in March, 8 years ago, on the northwest coast of Ireland. The kind of day that starts with the promise of a simple family outing, a trip to the seaside, but ends in an unimaginable nightmare.
It's a story many will remember, Sophie, a truly devastating event.
It is. Picture it, a Sunday, March 20th, 2016. A day that began with the ordinary joy of a family outing to Loch Swilly, near Buncrana, County Donegal. Sean McGrotty, a father of 2 young boys, was out with his partner, Louise James, her mother, Ruth Daniels, and Ruth's teenage daughter, Jodie Lee Daniels. Also with them, Sean and Louise's 2 sons, Mark, aged 12, and Evan, aged 8. And their precious baby girl, Riofnak, just 4 months old.
A full car, a full family, enjoying a day out.
Exactly. The kind of scene played out in seaside towns across the UK every weekend. But as the afternoon drew to a close, and the sky began to cloud over, Sean drove his Audi Q7 onto the concrete slipway at Buncrana Pier. Perhaps to turn around, perhaps to admire the view one last time before heading home. But the surface, slick with algae and rainwater, offered no grip.
And that's when the unthinkable happened.
The car, heavy with its occupants, began to slide. Not quickly at first, but with an unstoppable momentum. A slow, terrifying descent towards the dark, churning waters of the loch. Eyewitnesses on the pier watched in horror, their shouts lost to the wind, their minds racing to comprehend what they were seeing.
It must have been an absolute scene of panic and disbelief.
Utter chaos. Within moments, the car was partially submerged. The water, icy cold, began to creep into the vehicle. Inside, the terror must have been absolute. Sean McGrotty, trapped, made a desperate call for help. He managed to get through to a friend, pleading, "I'm in the water, I'm in the water." But the call quickly cut out.
So, help was on the way, but time was of the essence.
Precisely. As the water rose, the car began to float, then drift further from the pier. A true race against time. The local community, alerted by the unfolding disaster, rallied. Emergency services were scrambled, but it was a local man, David Walsh, who became an unlikely hero that day. He saw the car, heard the screams, and without a second thought, plunged into the freezing water.
Incredible bravery. To go into that kind of danger.
He swam out to the car, which was now almost completely submerged. Through the rear window, Sean McGrotty, in his final moments, passed his 4-month-old daughter, Riofnak, to David. He reportedly said, "Save my baby." It was an act of profound, selfless love.
And David Walsh managed to get the baby to safety.
He did. He swam back to shore, holding the tiny infant above the water, handing her over to waiting paramedics. Riofnak McGrotty, miraculously, survived. She was the sole survivor. But behind him, the Audi Q7 disappeared beneath the waves.
And with it, 5 lives were lost. Sean McGrotty, his sons Mark and Evan, his partner's mother Ruth Daniels, and her daughter Jodie Lee Daniels. An entire family unit wiped out in a matter of minutes. The sheer scale of that loss, it's just incomprehensible.
It is. The community of Buncrana, and indeed the whole of Ireland and the UK, was plunged into mourning. Funerals were held, the grief palpable, the shock profound. How could a simple Sunday drive turn into such an unspeakable tragedy?
Investigations would have immediately followed. What did they determine caused the car to slide? Was it purely accidental, or were there contributing factors?
The inquest later heard that the slipway was extremely slippery due to algae, and that there were no warning signs about the danger. The car's tires were also found to be underinflated, which wouldn't have helped with grip. It was a tragic confluence of circumstances. The coroner concluded that the deaths were due to drowning, caused by the car entering the water.
So, not a criminal act in the traditional sense, but a devastating accident with elements of potential negligence regarding the slipway's safety.
Exactly. And the aftermath for the surviving family, particularly Riofnaka's mother, Louise James, has been an ongoing journey of grief and resilience. Louise lost her partner, her 2 sons, her mother, and her sister that day. She has spoken publicly about the importance of Riofnak, who is now 8 years old, living a full life, a life for all of them.
That's an immense weight for a young girl, and for her mother. The strength required to carry on after such loss is truly humbling.
It is. And the story of Riofnak McGrotty, rescued from the depths by a brave stranger, is a testament to the human spirit, even amidst the most profound sorrow. It reminds us of the fragility of life, the suddenness with which everything can change, and the enduring power of love.
A powerful and incredibly sad start to the episode, Sophie. The image of that car, slowly sliding, will stay with me.
Dan, what we're covering next is a case that haunted an entire community, not with a sudden, dramatic tragedy, but with a creeping, insidious blight that slowly choked their landscape and their wallets.
And it's a type of crime that often goes unnoticed until the damage is almost irreversible. We're talking about the dark side of waste management, aren't we?
We are. Imagine driving down a quiet country lane, the hedgerows thick and green, the air usually fresh with the scent of damp earth and distant farms. But one morning, a different smell begins to permeate the air. A foul, chemical tang, mingling with the stench of decay.
The kind of smell that makes you instinctively roll up your car window.
Exactly. And then you see it. Not just a few fly-tipped bin bags, but mountains. Towering piles of refuse, old tires, broken refrigerators, hazardous chemicals in leaking drums, construction debris, even medical waste. Stretching across acres of once pristine farmland, or hidden deep within abandoned industrial estates. These aren't just litter, these are illegal waste dumps, on a colossal scale.
And these aren't just an eyesore, are they? They're a significant environmental hazard.
Absolutely. The toxins leach into the soil, poisoning groundwater, contaminating local rivers and streams. Wildlife suffers, local ecosystems are destroyed. And the sheer volume of it creates fire risks, releasing plumes of toxic smoke into the air. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a public health crisis waiting to happen.
So, how do these massive dumps appear? It's not usually one person with a single van, is it?
Far from it. This is often the work of sophisticated criminal networks. They operate under the guise of legitimate waste disposal companies, offering attractive, below-market rates to businesses and individuals looking to get rid of their rubbish. They collect the waste, promise to dispose of it responsibly, but instead, they simply dump it. Somewhere isolated, somewhere cheap, somewhere they hope no one will notice.
It's a classic criminal playbook: exploit a legitimate need, cut corners, maximize profit, and externalize all the costs onto someone else. In this case, the environment and the taxpayer.
Precisely. And the scale of it is staggering. We're talking about sites holding hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, of tons of waste. Imagine the logistics of moving that much material, undetected, to a single location. It requires planning, resources, and a complete disregard for the law and the environment.
And the discovery of these sites must be a shock to local communities. One day, a field, the next, a toxic mountain.
It often begins with residents noticing an increase in heavy vehicle traffic on quiet roads, particularly at night. Or that pervasive, awful smell. Then, someone takes a closer look, or a drone flying overhead spots the sheer scale of the devastation. Once discovered, the cleanup operation is monumental.
And incredibly expensive. This isn't just picking up a few bags, this is hazardous waste removal on an industrial scale.
Exactly. And that's where the taxpayers come in. When the criminals behind these operations vanish, or are caught but have no assets to seize, the burden of the cleanup falls to the public purse. The government has recently announced it will be stepping in to fund the clear-up of some of the biggest illegal waste dumps in England. We're talking about tens of millions of pounds, money that could be spent on schools, hospitals, or other vital public services.
So, the criminals profit, and the public pays twice, once through the environmental damage, and again through their taxes to fix it. How do investigators piece together who's responsible for these crimes?
It's a complex web. They'll trace the waste back to its source, look for specific types of materials that might identify a particular industry or company. They'll track vehicle movements, analyze financial records, and build a case against the individuals and companies involved. But these criminals are often adept at creating shell companies, using false identities, and moving quickly to avoid detection.
It sounds like a constant battle, doesn't it? To stay one step ahead of those who would exploit our resources for their own gain.
It is. But the resolve to bring these perpetrators to justice, and to restore the land, remains strong. Because the cost of doing nothing is simply too high.
It certainly is, Sophie. The silent, insidious nature of these environmental crimes makes them particularly chilling.
From the hidden blight of illegal waste, we turn now to a different kind of structural failing, one that emerged not in the shadows, but within the gleaming walls of a brand new public building.
A building designed to provide care, to be a beacon of modern healthcare.
Exactly. We're talking about the Baird Family Hospital and the Anchor Centre in Aberdeen, Scotland. These are state-of-the-art facilities, part of a major redevelopment project, costing hundreds of millions of pounds. Imagine the anticipation in the community, the excitement of finally having these new, advanced medical centres ready to open their doors.
New hospitals are always a huge deal for a city, a symbol of progress and investment.
Absolutely. But then, whispers started. Not about the medical equipment or the staff, but about the very fabric of the buildings themselves. Early in the construction process, it became apparent that something was seriously wrong.
What kind of problems are we talking about, Sophie?
Damp. In a new building. It sounds almost unbelievable. But reports emerged that plasterboard and insulation within the new facilities had been allowed to get wet during the construction phase.
So, before the building was even complete, before it was open to the public, there was a fundamental issue with water ingress.
Precisely. And what happens when plasterboard and insulation get wet, especially when they're then sealed up inside walls?
Mold. And in a hospital, that's not just an aesthetic problem, that's a serious health risk.
A very serious health risk. Mold spores can cause respiratory problems, allergic reactions, and can be particularly dangerous for vulnerable patients with compromised immune systems. It's the last thing you want in a facility designed to heal.
So, the gleaming new hospital, a symbol of health and progress, was potentially harboring a silent, dangerous contaminant within its very walls. What was the response when this was discovered?
The response was swift and costly. The affected plasterboard and insulation had to be stripped out. Imagine the scale of that work, tearing down newly erected walls, removing insulation, all before the building had even officially opened. It's a huge setback.
And a huge waste of resources, both time and money. This must have caused significant delays to the hospital opening.
It has. The Baird Family Hospital, which will house maternity, gynecology, and breast screening services, and the Anchor Centre, for cancer and hematology patients, have both faced delays. These are crucial services, and the community has been waiting for them. The impact on patient care, even before opening, is undeniable.
Who is accountable for something like this? How does a brand new, multi-million-pound facility develop such a fundamental issue during construction?
That's the core question, isn't it? Investigations would have looked into the construction practices, the oversight, the quality control measures. Was it poor workmanship? Inadequate protection from the elements during building? A failure of project management? These are the kinds of questions that need answers, not just for accountability, but to prevent it from happening again.
It highlights the importance of rigorous checks and balances in major public projects. The long-term costs of cutting corners, or simply not paying enough attention to detail, can be astronomical.
Absolutely. And the trust of the public is also at stake. When a new facility, built with public money, faces such fundamental issues, it erodes confidence. The hope is that by stripping out the affected materials and ensuring thorough remediation, these vital hospitals will eventually open as safe, state-of-the-art facilities. But the journey there has been far from smooth.
A stark reminder that even the most ambitious projects can fall victim to basic errors, with significant consequences for communities.
Indeed. These stories, whether they involve sudden tragedy, insidious crime, or fundamental flaws in design and execution, all reveal the complex tapestry of life in the UK, and the constant pursuit of justice, accountability, and ultimately, peace of mind.
That's UK True Crime Stories for today. These stories are inspired by real documented cases. If you have information about any unsolved case, please contact Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.